Welcome to Module 1, Reflect, a re-examination of our creative identities. So we like to begin each module with an acknowledgement of country, and I like to do it in a way that is through our embodiment as an embodied practice. So in order to prepare ourselves for that, let's just centre in the chair. Feel your sit bones, let your coccyx grow a little bit longer so you feel that beautiful triangular supportive base, the base of your body, your spinal column emerging out of that, the top of the head floating like a dome on pendentives on top of it all, and just sensing the beautiful way that cool air comes in through your nostrils and fills and expands the interior space of the body. There's as much space in every molecule of our body as in a football field, apparently. So just think of that, like all of the football fields inside your body. And so when we breathe in, we're in exchange with the world, with the universe, and when we breathe out, we share of ourselves to the universe as well. So we're already in an act of reciprocation. And through this process, I want to give honour and thanks to all the First Nations people around the world who have retained connection to country and to land and to sea. And here in this space, here in Canberra, we're also honouring the Ngunnawal, Ngambri and Ngunnawal peoples, the elders and the wisdom holders. And I'd like us to do this as an embodied practice, to breathe in and breathe out, and just wherever you are, come close to the ground and pay your respects. So where are we now? How do we conceptualise this place we're in, how we are, who we are, what our past has been and where we're going? We're going to do a few exercises that are going to help reorientate our sense of how we might talk about our experiences of the past 18 months and also our creative identities from now and into the future. So let's begin with a series of exercises that we're just asking you to go with, to use it as a contemplative practice, to just breathe through it. I'll remind you to breathe. And we'll do some drawing in a sequence and just see where we end up. Let's start. So the first exercise is to grab your pencil, grab your piece of paper, and do the profile drawing that we're going to show you now. So I invite you to close your eyes, and I'm going to turn to my profile so you can see more clearly what we're doing. With your eyes closed, just trace your profile. Doing that a few times. And so now take a crayon and your piece of paper, and we're going to have a start point that you mark with your crayon and draw as you go. And breathe. Okay, and let's do that again. I'm going to get a different colour. Marking point, and once more, breathe. Okay, and this time I'd like you to explore that by using your non-dominant hand on the page with the crayon and your dominant hand to do the tracing. Okay, well done. So what we need for this exercise are a few implements, some crayons of different colours, or textas, but I prefer crayon because it has this kind of glide to it, which will be really helpful for this exercise, or a palette of watercolours, which I also love to use because they also give you a lot of freedom and flow as you use your brush. So before we actually get into the exercise, I would try and wet the palette really quite a lot so that the brush can be loaded quite quickly. Sometimes these colour palettes take a little while until they get really worked into, and you can then have quite a lot of colour ready on your palette quite quickly. Okay, so have it nice and ready, nice and wet. It's a nice squishy one. Okay, and then just while you've got your brush in your hand or your crayon, I'd like you to just close your eyes for a moment and think of painting in space. Just whatever comes to mind, waves, strokes, frenzies, tickles. Just let your arm be really active in it and do some wider actions with it so that the movement comes from the shoulder, from the body, rather than, please don't use a pencil because it'll actually make your movement too small. So using a crayon, using the brush and watercolour, letting these gestures come from the whole of the body. And then we're ready to go. Have your piece of paper handy and we're ready. Or a line straight across the page or on the diagonal, like this. And we're going to think of this as our timeline. And just do a gesture across that line without looking at it now. And then think about where the present moment, how you would mark the present moment, like so. Okay, wherever it is for you. Now, close your eyes. Breathe as if you've got a waterfall coming from above your head down through the fontanelle and through the beautiful capaciousness of your interior of the body, all the way through the whole of the body, letting yourself become present, continuing that core from the perineum into the ground below. Okay. And then let your pen mark your line again with, it might be the same point, it might be different. Where are you now? What is now for you across this timeline? Great, well done. So I have a space here and you might not. Let's not analyse it for the moment, but just let it be there. Now, in most timelines, it's a graphic representation of the past into the future, with the present here somewhere. So we're firstly going to examine the past. And again, come into your body, take a crayon, and just sit for a moment and contemplate the kind of gesture you might make, the texture of the past, whether it's the immediate past or extending into very far back into the past. And we're also working with a sense that this timeline goes on forever. But for the moment, it's just demarcated here. And taking your crayon and think about the immediate past and allow yourself to make some gestures that represent that. You might first want to do it in the space in front of you. Just work from the shoulder, work quite freely, and think about how you might draw immediate past, and then allow yourself to do it on the page. Well done. Now, breathe into the present moment. If this horizontal line represents the horizon, and this is above ground and this is below, maybe at the moment you might like to examine what it is that's growing from the ground right now, and let yourself draw. You can look at what you're drawing if you like, or you can work blind. And remember to breathe. Take another crayon, and remember you can start and stop this at any time. When you hear an instruction, pause on your video, do the drawing and come back, if that's the way you want to work it. So now we're going to be present in our bodies, and we're going to think about future. How might you draw future? Take a moment to breathe. Now imagine that you're letting time expand as far into the future as you can imagine, and even more. And it might be that time actually is circular, comes around, meets the past and comes around again. So letting your arms scoop across your page and move across it like so. But here we are. Again, we're maybe going farther into the future, and now we're going to draw what it is for the future to come into the present. Okay. And just let what comes to you come. And you'll notice I'm using my non-dominant hand, which is inviting me to draw something quite differently from anything I've done before. And remember to breathe. And the next part of the exercise we're going to do, look at your own drawing, and we're going to do an exercise which we might think of as conducting your drawing in space. In a moment we're going to animate it even further, but for the moment, just while you're still seated, have it on the floor in front of you, like so, or whatever it is you need, and just see if you can use your arm to animate first the whole line, the present moment, and step back into the past, and letting this conducting stick animate what you have drawn and breathe with it. And then go out to the future and come back. For me, I'd be wanting to make the sound of a whale at the moment, because the whales come from the future back. And yours might be entirely abstract. Whatever it is there, just accept. Go to the future, come back, and return to the present moment, and then see what it is that has grown out of your present moment, what you are drawing. Okay. Take your time. Now that we've completed this conducting into space in front of your body of what it is that you've drawn, we're going to animate it even further. So I'm going to invite you to place that drawing on the ground in front of you, and we're going to dance the pattern that you've described, your timeline. So we just want to remind you that this program and these modules are created on this online platform in a way that we're hoping is going to be accessible to people of all abilities. And it doesn't really matter if you can stand or do the splits or fling yourself around in a trapeze or not, because all of the exercises are constructed in such a way that you can do them seated, you can do them standing, and you can do them in a highly active way or in a more contained way. It's according to your ability and your comfort level. We do want the exercises to extend each of us, but the extension is not about going to extremes, or it's not about doing what's not possible for you. Because after all, any exercise is about the relationship of mind to body, and if your mind is going there, you've probably, you can jump across the room even if you can't move. So that's the principle we're working with, okay? Trust me, I've seen it happen working with people in wheelchairs and so on, that it's actually the state of mind and the state of the breath in relation to the body that's what matters. So make yourself comfortable. Any exercise can be done seated or standing or otherwise. So welcome, let's begin. So I have my paintbrush in my hand. It's a large thing with a bit of weight in it, and you can use a fan, you can use a stick, conducting stick. Don't use anything too heavy, but something that makes you feel like it is an extension of your arm, like a prophylaxis, okay? And we're going to be drawing your timeline in space. Just use whatever space you have. So we've got the line. And if we do think about it, line is probably circular, time is probably circular, so we go from past to future, and there's a return, but just a graphic realisation anyway. And then just close your eyes for a moment and feel the length of your line and remember where you marked the present moment. Okay? And then we also use the non-dominant hand. I'm just going to turn around and then I'm going to mark the present moment. On my graph, they were two separate places, okay? And they might be the same for you, or they might be that space. Now, I'm going to just glance at my drawing again, and then I'm going to do what I've drawn in the past. This was the red section on my drawing, the immediate past, and then I'm going to step into the present. And I understood what was growth through the present. Actually, that was the tree that I had, it's come back to me from 3 days ago, because the tree I had in my timeline actually had sorrow in it, and so it was a weeping willow. And so I'm drawing the weeping willow. And then I can go from past to the present. The whole body can be the tree. And then we have future. I'm just going to take a glance at my drawing again. Okay. I'm going off the page, and then from the future comes back my whale, creature, and or the sea and the ocean. And I'm just keeping in touch with my breath as I do this. And I can go back and forward. I might go back to the future time again and come back with that sense of ocean, whale. And you might find that you actually want to go back and forth across your timeline. At the moment, there's something that's making me quite comfortable to stay here, this far ahead in the future. But if I were to walk myself back to the present moment, then the whale comes with me. That future is there. I can really see it and feel it. Now, every time you do this dance, it's going to be different. Try and let your body just capture the energy and the colour of your drawing. Understand that you're marking space with your body, moving flow from past to future and back, and see how you go. just remember to breathe. Remember to check in on your body, what's happening with it, and then at the end of it, just come to rest. So in your present moment, breathing in and breathing out, and breathing in and breathing out. Anything to help you settle and come back. Now that we've danced the timeline in the space that you have in your room, in your home, this is like where you can have a bit more of a conversation with her, a different kind of conversation. In allowing the body to gesture and to manifest the patterns, the textures, the depths of the experiences you have drawn, this is a conversation in a different language. And it's like a mirror that comes to reflect back to you something, either a gift of self-knowledge, or it's something where, you know, the universe has just taken a little trip into a different place and saying, look at this. What does that mean to you now? It's a little bit of a transformative opportunity. Every time I draw my timeline, it's different. This is the one I did in the session we just had person to person, here in the same studio space, but only an hour ago. So you can see they're quite different in their nature, but I'm attempting to be really true to the moment and the communication in the moment. And there's always a story being given back to me, okay? Now in doing the dance, that's one way of telling the story. And we've just got a little opportunity now with the drawing you have to have a bit of a conversation with it. So for me, I go back to where I did my first markers of the timeline, and I think I've actually got it upside down, so I'm going to put it right way up now. Although I'm sure there's something in the upside down version of it as well. One of the things I noticed, and it does seem to happen to a few of us in the room, is that a few of us have marked the present moment really very close to on this side of the page, and there's an awful lot of future ahead of us. And for those of you like me who are pushing the grey hairs, you sort of think, wow, I've got that long ahead of me. And it's that wonderful sense of, oh, what's this communicating to me? And particularly in times of duress, let's say, we often lose that sense of time ahead, the depth of the present moment, and also the depth of what coexists in our body. We feel the fear, we feel the duress, but we don't feel the breath. We don't feel the spaciousness that is always there in our body. We don't feel the spaciousness I talked about before in another section, which is about the space around us, the ma, M-A. So here, I found that in fact I had two present moments, and I wonder about that. When I did my dance, you will have noticed that there was almost like a hop and a skip between one and the other. Now that's no accident. I do feel conflicted, I do feel present and then confused about those selves that are being revealed in this present moment. Am I this or am I that? Is this my choice or is it that my choice? So this is just one way this drawing is communicating to me, and I find it some things are really revelatory and some things are much more subtle than that. It just makes it, oh, right, okay, I can see it now. I can see that's where I'm at. Earlier in the day, I drew a luscious tree growing forth here, and this time it's more like a weeping willow. So it's reminding me of maybe the sadness that I've got, the sadnesses that arise from moment to moment and then they disappear again. There's a lot of bundled energy here in the immediate past, an intensity. The choice of the colour red was obviously the subconscious doing what it needed to manifest something here. And the future has all sorts of dynamics in it. It's got hills and plains and crevices and a kind of advance to it. And I found myself drawing into that space a lot as well. But in extending quite far into the future, coming back, there was this little whale that appeared and it wanted to be there, singing to me, bringing something of the future back. Now, I could go forth and write a story about the snake that comes to the present, that sits in the root of the willow tree, that and sheds its story in its tears, and the willow tree tells that story and weeps its tears into the ground. And then there's a whole span of history that the snake no longer is a part of, but time goes on, and in casting forward to the future, back comes the ocean, the creatures of the ocean, the whales singing, bringing some hope from the future. Okay. Now, for some of us that might be going too far, telling a fable, but there's many ways that fables get told, and they can be done through line and gesture. And remembering that sense of the flow that was all through your body while we danced it, you were moving ahead and coming back, and moving ahead and coming back. And you'll also note in some of the other physical exercises that we're also recording that you can tap into online, we're returning to that sense of the figure 8 and the nourishment of certain patterns and certain exercises that can be very beneficial for the body. Okay, so you might like to take this moment to let yourself have a conversation with your own drawing and annotate what comes to you of it. And it could be simply sensations, it could be realizations, it could be something where you actually have no idea yet what's happened, but something is being worked through. And this is exactly the opportunity that we're hoping these modules give you, the opportunity to reflect and work through. And as this model is, reflect a re-examination of our identities, our creative identities, where we've been, where we are, where we're going. Okay, over to you. So just to finish, we're going to do a bit of breath into the body, because we have been talking from the structure, the bones, we've been talking from the space inside the body, and we've also been talking from the inner organs. So it's a really good thing to check in on them. And just gently rub your hands together, just to activate their senses. And as we did earlier, just placing the palm face forward and just feeling it pressing against that pillow of air in front of you. Such a lovely feeling. Okay. And then taking your right hand and just cradling the throat, which is also cradling the thymus, the thyroid glands, beg your pardon. Place your hand on the thyroid area, which is halfway between the throat and the heart. Place your hands on the heart itself, so not in the centre of the body, but in communion with the heart as an organ. And breathe, so that it's almost like being able to hear the rhythmic beat of the heart within this chamber, and the resonance of the chamber within all the spaciousness of this part of the body. So feel and hear that with your hands. And then cradle your lungs, cradle your kidneys. Usually it's comfortable to put your hands just below your rib cage at the back there. Cradle your liver. Be very, very kind to your liver. The spleen, gallbladder, intestine, and for those of you who are anatomically female, cradle the ovaries, and for those of you who are anatomically male, cradling the prostate and the reproductive structure of the reproductive system. And for those of us who are both, you can cradle both. And then just cradling the symphysis pubis, the pubic bone, and the perineum, and just breathing. supporting the base of the body. So from top to tail, we have an organ system that is held up by space, spaciousness, and in relation to each other. And that will be the subject of another section in a module. So now we're inviting you to hop onto Instagram and visit our Creative Restore, which has been set up as a repository, if you like, of our ideas, creations, things that we want to exchange with each other or just to store for ourselves, like a little treasure box in a way. And the inspiration for Restore was to have a kind of portal to share drawings, audio, ideas. And the idea actually came from something like a little treasure box which has little drawers that can pull out. You can see just the pattern of it. You imagine these being little storehouses of the gems of realisation you've made, or even the questions you've got. And through this Instagram portal, we're hoping to create a doorway to the kind of conversations and community that we're hoping this project will build. So please visit it. Just drop in for yourself and see what other people have posted, because it might be quite a lot of fun, it might be really refreshing, and you may not be ready for a little while to share anything of your own yet, and that's absolutely fine. But use it as a place of generous exchange. It's there for it. It's there for all of us. Thanks for joining us for Module 1. We look forward to seeing you for Module 2. Until next time.